I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Feels Like Home. I'm really excited for this week. Dave Shoemaker is a longtime educator and coach in our community and has a tremendous wealth of fascinating stories to talk about from, honestly, all over the world and all over the nation for sure. But he's a guy that we have great respect for as a coach and as an educator. And so we hope you enjoy this interview with Dave Shoemaker. We're really happy to have Dave Shoemaker with us this week. Dave is the owner of the only blog that I've ever seen keep going. It's no joke. There are a lot of blogs out there, especially local blogs, but right. You're the one that just kind of keeps going and going and going. You're still adding to it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you need to. I learned right away that you need to. If people come back 2 or 3 times and it hasn't changed, they quit coming.
Right.
So even if you have to have some fluff stuff to throw in there, a funny video or something, I do that just to keep people coming back. And
yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia on that blog too. You did that one recently about the things you don't find in a car anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like bench seats and stuff like that. That was pretty neat.
Well, I mentioned this earlier to you guys before we started that, I lost both my parents. So, I've been reflecting a lot on, the old days and riding all the way to Colorado in the, not only without seatbelts, but up in the back window of the car.
Yeah.
Both my sisters were in the back seat. I rode in the back window all the way. And Dad used to slam on the brakes just to send me flying just for fun. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get arrested for that. We used to go to Reds games. My Uncle Merle and my dad would take us to Reds games in the summer, and we'd ride in the back of a pickup truck. Yeah. It'd be like 8 of us.
Yeah.
And just flying down, people's hats would be flying, and shoes would get tossed out.
Yeah.
But different world,
It's 100%. I did the same thing. I used to ride in my mom's lap in the front seat of the bench seat too. Yeah. So
they used to have, I told somebody, about the cars back then, there was none of that padding or anything on the dashboards. Everything was pointy and metal and
hard plastic, maybe a little bit of cushion.
It was even plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, my first car was a 70 Maverick, and it had a metal dash.
Yeah, I had the same thing here. Yep.
I told somebody we just knew how to take a fall back then. You just got up and rolled with it. We
had harder domes back then, I guess.
For sure.
So for those of you who don't know Dave is a longtime educator, longtime basketball coach, athletic director, mostly at most of your career at Paint Valley, right?
Yeah, I started at Greenfield McLean.
Right.
I actually coached a year at Paint Valley. Then I went to Greenfield McLean for 7 years and taught reading and coached under Rick Van Meter. Then I came to Paint Valley and coached JVs for a year, then became the varsity coach. And left after 7 years, did a bunch of other stuff, came back and coached another 6 years after that. So.
Yeah. And now Dave is on the Paint Valley School Board.
Yeah.
Was elected 2016?
No. It had to be 2019 maybe.
19, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gave you a few extra years there.
Yeah, because I was non-renewed.
That's right.
Yeah. It was in all the papers.
I think I remember it. Yeah.
I was non-renewed.
Might have been a statement or two about it.
Yeah, non-renewed in the spring of 18, and then I ran for school board, and Blake ran with me, and Blake Lloyd, and this past election, 3 other girls got elected. So,
and that's been a pretty big turn.
The whole board's changed.
Yeah.
So,
but Dave has led this amazing life through coaching that I thought was really, really interesting. It's one of the aspects of Dave's life that are really, really interesting. We can maybe talk about all the live shows that Dave has been to because we're live music fans. So, but Dave,
oh man,
Dave is what I aspire to be one day when I grow up in terms of live music, because this guy's seen them all just about. So, but I do want to talk about the coaching aspect of it first, because not only have you coached locally, but you've got great relationships through coaching that you've built, including some of the greats of all time, including Bob Huggins, Gary Williams, other people like that. How does all that happen? I mean, you obviously go to camps, but
I actually knew Gary Williams before I knew Hugs very well. I didn't know Gary when he was coaching at Ohio State, actually. He was coaching at Ohio State, and he left to go to Maryland. That was his alma mater.
Right.
And I was close friends with Billy Hahn, who was the head coach at Ohio University back in the late 80s. And if I remember correctly, Gary got hired sort of like in the spring, and they didn't have a lot of time to get ready for camp. And I'd helped work Billy's camps at OU. So they called me and said, hey, can you bring some coaches and players out? We really got to get this thing going. You know, we got to hit the ground running. So that first summer of Gary's tenure at Maryland, I think I took 12, 14 coaches out with me and like 100 players from the area here. And they only had a couple hundred kids that year. So everywhere you looked, it was Ross County kids in College Park, Maryland.
Yeah.
So Gary's always felt, you know, like he owed me for helping that first year. So as time went on, I ended up, you know, being the commissioner of the camps, and which means basically you don't do anything except kind of watch everybody, make sure no one gets in trouble. But a couple things have happened if you have time. There's a couple quick. I
want all the stories. I want all the stories.
Gary and I have gotten close over the years, and there's a couple reasons. One time I think it was his third year at Maryland. He talked to everybody, and we were having a coaches meeting, and he said, I'm going to go back to Columbus for the first time, and I'm going to speak at I think it was a Kroger's luncheon. And he said, how do you think I'll be received? He asked everybody, and they were all going, oh, Gary, they love you back there, blah, blah. And I just sat there, and he went, Shoo, what do you think? I said, I don't know, Gary. I said, if you're at Ohio State, you either get fired or you retire. Name another basketball or football coach that just left to go somewhere else. I still can't think of any.
Yeah.
I said, I wouldn't get my hopes up. A couple days later, he came back to camp, and he walked up to me and he said, we're not allowed to cuss on this, are we? I won't.
No, I mean, it's not going to.
I won't. You'll get the gist of it.
We can put the little E next to it. It's fine.
He called me over and he said, guess what happened? I said, what? And he said, they booed me. And he said, and you were the only one honest enough to tell me. And I said, well, you know, I wasn't going to lie to you. So he appreciated that. But then a couple years after that, his daughter had run the camp store. I think she was in high school at the time, or maybe college. She still lives in Columbus. But anyway, she would come out there. Gary and his wife were not together anymore. And I went with Mike Shoemaker, my cousin, to play in a Pro-Am tournament up in Circleville. And I had a Maryland shirt on, and the superintendent, I think it was Taze Valley, he said, hey, you have a Maryland shirt on. He said, I'm interviewing Gary Williams' daughter tomorrow for a job. Do you know her? And I said, not really. I said, she runs the camp store, but she seems nice. That's literally all I said. Anyway, he hired her, and at the end of the interview, he said, I talked to Dave Shoemaker about you, and he put in a word for you. So next thing I know, I get a call from Gary, hey, thank you. And I said, Gary, I swear to God, I didn't do anything.
It was one sentence.
And he said, I know what you did, man. I know what you I said, I promise you I didn't. And he said, I know what you did. So anyway, little things like that. Everything is about relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything. As a young coach, I never realized that. It took me a while to realize that, you know, everything is about relationships. You have to have relationships with your kids. So that's Gary. Hugs, when they were opening Shoemaker Center in Cincinnati, you know, it was named for my Uncle Merle because he was lieutenant governor at the time, and his son Mick had played down there. And at the time, they were traveling to Riverfront Coliseum to play their games, and the kids had to be bussed down. It was a mess. So he helped funnel the money to build Shoemaker Center, or to build the arena, and they named it Shoemaker Center. And the family went down for a private opening of the arena, and Hugs had just been hired. And I think it was 89, something like that.
Yeah, because he came from Akron, right?
Yeah. He'd been at Walsh and Akron.
Oh, that's right.
But someone else is giving the tour and Hugs is kind of lagging back, and it was probably 15 family members. And I introduced myself and I said, yeah, I coached down at Paint Valley, the Bearcats. And I don't know, we just hit it off, and we've grown closer and closer over the years. And the guy, probably one of the most misunderstood coaches in basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy loves his players. He would do anything for them. Just a great guy. I took my players to camps at Cincinnati for years, and then when he went to West Virginia, I took my players there. And when I've been helping out at Paint Valley the last few years, we go out there. But just a good guy, and I got a lot of stories about him too. But I don't think he'd appreciate me telling them here. Not yet, anyway.
Well, and what always strikes me about Huggins is that he feels like a Southern Ohio guy that he realizes, like, I've been able to coach my whole life. It's a blessing to do that. And so to me, it almost feels like he doesn't get too big about himself like some of these big college basketball coaches get, because he's grounded in that way.
If I could be wrong, I hope I'm not, because I'll be ridiculed by my friends, but I cannot imagine him having a farewell tour.
Yeah.
Announcing it ahead of time. I'm 99.9% sure he'll do it the way Jay Wright did it, or Roy Williams, and just wait till the season's over and step aside, because he doesn't want all that attention.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to put that pressure on his kids. Now, again, fingers crossed, but I can't imagine him doing that.
Well, I would say that it probably, if it did happen, it wouldn't be him. It would be the university pushing to do that.
Yeah, that's possible too.
But, ultimately, it's all about sponsorship dollars and everything else.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's other things come into play for sure.
But still, it does feel that way. I agree. Who are some other coaches that that you've really appreciated over time?
Oh man, I've met a lot of those guys. I've met Jay Wright. I've met, of course, I know, Keith Dambrot that was at Akron.
Sure,
I know him pretty well. Met Patino. I've met Calipari. I've met Krzyzewski. I've been in offices with him. And it's pretty well known that I'm not a big fan of Coach K. But I've just through Billy Hahn, Billy Hahn coached for Gary Williams, and he's really the thread through all of this, how I've met all these people.
And you're really good friends with Billy, right?
He's one of my best friends in the world. Yeah, one of my best friends. He's recruited 27 NBA players. He recruited all those guys at Maryland when they won a national title. Mm-hmm. Now, he left the year before to go to LaSalle, but he recruited all those guys. Billy knows everybody. Mm-hmm. He can get you in anywhere, any practice anywhere. But anyway, he was at Maryland, then he went to LaSalle, and then he ended up going to coach with Hugs. So it was just a stroke of luck that he ended up coaching for both those guys that I ended up getting pretty close to.
Yeah. One of the things I really like about you as a coach is, you mentioned it earlier, it's just relationship. I look at these guys that have graduated and they're out 4 and 5 years, and you put out a call, hey, I just need some guys to come and rustle these kids up a little bit at the open gym, and the next thing I know, you're posting a picture and there's 25 people there, it just seems like they really have related to you, and they've really, they respect you. And so anytime you need a little favor, they're going to be happy to help you.
Here's the thing. A lot of coaches don't understand this. They feel that letting kids know you care about them or love them is like somehow giving up power, or giving in to them somehow, or somehow weakening you. What they don't understand, if kids know you love them and care about them, you can be as hard as you want to on them. Mm-hmm. And they'll listen, and they know it's not personal. If you don't let them know that and try to get disciplined, they're going to quit listening after a while.
Right.
And a lot of young coaches, they don't understand that. I didn't understand it when I first started coaching. Yeah. It took me a while to figure that out, but it's 100% true.
And maturity brings some of that stuff too, right? Like, the coach that you were at Greenfield that first year, or Paint Valley that first year, or whatever, you were not that coach when you ended up going back to Paint Valley or anything else.
My first 2 or 3 years as varsity coach at Paint Valley, I cringe at some of the things I did and how I treated kids. And I completely understand why some of the parents didn't like me.
Yeah.
I mean, they were right in not liking me at the time, but you adapt, you change, you learn, and get better.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And then of course you were also the national coach for Montserrat.
Yeah.
And I know the story, and I know I've been told the story before, but I forget it. So I need you to explain how that all came about as well.
It's pretty incredible. It sounds like a movie, but I was coaching at Maryland, and like I said, I was the commissioner. This was the mid-'90s. I'd been doing it for 5 or 6 years, and we had coaches from colleges and international coaches that were like under me. I was a high school coach at some little tiny school in Southern Ohio, but because of my relationships, I was over those guys. And one of the coaches was a guy named Paul Cotter, and he was the Greek national coach. And I got to know him pretty well. He coached the Olympic team, Greek Olympic team. Summer of 95 or spring of 95, he called me and he said, "Hey, I've been training kids down at Montserrat, players, actually 35 to 15. And he said, "Would you be interested in going down?" And I went, "Hell yeah, they're going to pay for the flight and everything." So I had to I wasn't on the internet in 95, but I had to look it up, and it's a little tiny island, basically the tip of a mountain south of Antigua. It's a 20-mile flight from Antigua. And my wife at the time and I, yeah, we'll do it. So we went down, and they had one basketball court on the whole island. I think they may have had one basketball at the time. But, we land, and, at the time there were guys sitting in Jeeps with guns on their, shoulders and stuff. And I'm thinking, what are we into here, man? Because it was nighttime when we got there. They took us back up the hill and through the rainforest, and we to our villa. At the time there were 12,000 people on the island. It's like 5,000 now. I'll explain in a minute. But, there's no McDonald's, no Walmarts, no major chain hotels, nothing like that. But the people are absolutely incredible. But anyway, I did a 2-week clinic back in 95, and there's a volcano on the island. And if anyone's listening to this and questions anything, you can look all this up because it sounds crazy. But the volcano's rumbling, and there's a video that someone had given me at the time, and I still have it. And I'm talking to these guys at this basketball practice, and I said, "Guys, are we okay? Is that safe?" And they all laugh. They all sound like Bob Marley when they talk, by the way. And they, "Coach, man, no, you're fine." And they said, "It has never gone off in recorded history. You're fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it." So the last day I was there, my wife and I, the team, there's like 20 of them, and I train little kids too. They took us up to the top of this mountain to see the volcano. There were waterfalls. It was like Jurassic Park. There were waterfalls. There were 12-foot long iguanas in the middle of the trail, and the guys would just scare them off. So we trek up this. It took, if I remember right, 45 minutes to an hour to get to the top. And we look in the volcano, and it was uneventful. It smelled like, rotten eggs, and
right.
It was just steam
sulfur,
coming
yeah.
up. There was no lava, nothing like that. But the ground was shaking a little bit. Well, I said, "Are you sure we're safe?" "Hey, Coach, we're up here all the time. It's fine." So anyway, we went down. We flew out the next morning, and my wife and I at the time had a cottage at the Outer Banks, and we landed in Manteo and went to the cottage, and the phone was ringing. And I forget who it was. I think it was Mike Carroll, a friend of mine. And he said, "Man, you got out of there just in time, didn't you?" So what are you talking about? He said, "The volcano blew down there."
Jeez.
I said, "Are you kidding?" So the volcano had blown like that night, and it kept erupting and ended up killing 19 people or something. Yeah, the top of the mountain blew off, but we got out of there. I mean, we were standing on the rim of an active volcano like 12 hours before it blew.
Yeah.
And because of that, a lot of people moved, and there's only 12,000, or there's only around 5,000. Might be more than that now.
Yeah.
The bottom half of the island is an exclusion zone. They'll take me down to look at it and everything, the volcano, but when I go down. But, the north half is where everybody lives now. It completely buried the capital, which was Plymouth. 20 feet of ash covering everything. The images on, Google are incredible to watch. One of my players told me the next year, well, that's another story I can tell you. We played in the Bob Cousy tournament the next summer. But anyway, one of my players told me he was driving down the mountain and everything went dark. It was like 11 in the morning and it just got black. And he looked in his rearview mirror and he saw the
ash,
everything.
Yeah.
And there's something called what's the heat that comes down? Something flow.
Oh yeah.
There's a name for it, but this heat, like 1,000-degree heat, comes flying down first, and then this roll of just ash and smoke and everything. And I wish I could think of that name, but anyway, he saw it coming, and he was overcome with this ash and everything, and he's trying to drive down this hill, this dirt road, and he can't see, and there's 1,500-foot drops.
Yeah.
So he's really, really hot and he couldn't breathe. And he said he turned on his vents, like the air. And he said fire started shooting through the vents. And he thought, this is it, I'm dead. Well, as luck would have it, he somehow recognized a road and turned up the road and got out of this flow and got out of his car, and the tires were melted off his vehicle. That's how hot it was.
Man.
But yeah, and the airport, there's stories of, there were people in the airport, and these pilots are amazing, especially now because the airport, it's a real short runway, and you have to hit, when you're landing, you have to hit right at the edge so you can stop in time.
Yeah.
And when you leave, you can't get up speed, so it kind of drops off the end, and it's exhilarating but terrifying. But anyway, this pilot sees it happening, and he knows there's people at the airport that he's supposed to pick up. And it wiped out it went down in two areas. One, it's weird how it happened. One hit the Capitol and one hit the airport, these flows. But the guy, the pilot landed, told the people on the plane to stay on. He rushed these other people on. They take off and circle the airport as it's being covered with, yeah, it's amazing.
Whew, that's intense.
Yeah, it's like I say, it sounds like something out of a movie, but
yeah,
it really happened.
And then you actually took the team and they played in the tournament the next year. Is that what you're saying?
The very next year, they called me, and a lot of them had lost weight because a lot of the stores and stuff were, and they said, we got sponsorship to go to, see, they were getting assistance from England, I think, because that's there's like a satellite country from England or whatever. But they got permission to play in the Bob Cousy tournament in Boston. I said, will you come? I said, well, absolutely, I'll meet you there. So I met him there. We were there for a couple weeks, and there were 32 teams from all over the world. And we practiced at, not Colgate. It was in, I forget. Anyway, we practiced at a little university there. And, we never had we had practice gear. It wasn't great looking that we played in. But we ended up we beat South Africa, which was a shocker to everybody. Then we beat India, which had us outnumbered a little bit. India's like, I don't know how million people, but Montserrat had 5,000 people. So we beat South Africa, India, then we beat Poland's Olympic team.
Wow.
Yeah, big upset. And Poland's team looked exactly the way you'd expect them to look. These big, brawny, hairy dudes. Sorry, is that? I don't know if
it's fine.
Okay. And we ended up getting beat in the Final Four by the United States. Yeah. And Chauncey Billups was on the team, the team that beat us. Yeah. So it was a big story at the time. I remember National Public Radio interviewed me because they couldn't figure out how to wrap their brain around this little island coached by a guy from Southern Ohio. It was,
well, and the circumstances of what happened the year before, obviously, only
crazy.
one basketball court, the whole deal. Like it's a movie. It's a script.
I haven't been down there because of COVID and everything for a while, but when I go, I still, those players on that team, it's like a legend, down there.
Sure.
And it's people who yell Coach Shoe, from the roads and everything. It's pretty neat.
That's fun. And then, so have they continued to compete?
Yeah.
Okay.
But just, I don't think they've been anywhere, but I think they've traveled to neighboring islands, but that's all.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to go because of everything.
And obviously, you've coached a lot of players over time and gotten to see a lot of them. And, one of the ones that sticks with me is Dylan Swingle, because I've never met a kid that big, that just understood who he was. And I still have the picture. It comes up on my memories all the time of when I had Walker sit next to him after a game at Southeastern, and he literally crouches down. And for him, that was a big deal. He'd already played a game that night.
Yeah.
And, just more than willing to always make himself available. But you've coached a lot of great players over the time.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to, coach Dylan. Dylan, after games, his arms would be bloody.
Yeah.
Because, quite frankly, the officials had trouble, officiating him because he's like Shaq. They'd never seen anybody like that. I had one official one time say, Coach, if we called every foul, he'd shoot 80 free throws. And I said, if you called it, they'd quit fouling him. But he never complained. He never got upset. He never. If that guy would have got mad, he could have. He could have done some damage. He's 6'11", 300 pounds. He's like a son to me, and he's just a quality kid. He's just graduating from Bowling Green this next month, May. So, Craig Kearns was a McDonald's All-American. Coach Craig. Yep. Craig's a really good friend now. I've had some good ones. Mason McCloy averaged 18 rebounds a game 1 year.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of guys too that I think they were not the top scorer, but they were the guys that were the grit of your teams that. They still continue to amaze me. You even had one this last year. You were an assistant, I think, on the team this year with Coach Smith. But Cordell Grubb is a guy that, I just every time I saw that kid, I was like, man, if he doesn't end up with a concussion or a busted arm or something, he just everywhere.
At a school our size, you have to have a few guys that are non-basketball players that just understand their role and believe in what they're doing and believe in you and rebound and set screens and do all that dirty work. And it goes back to relationships. If you have relationships with kids, you can tell them, listen, here's what we need you to do. You're going to be appreciated. And the great thing about Paint Valley is our fans appreciate those kind of kids.
Oh yeah.
Those hard work, lunch pail guys that are going to go out there and our fans will cheer and, you take a charge, you dive for a ball. They love you.
Yeah. And they travel too. Not only Convo, but if you're going to play, West Union or Belpre or something like that, they're going to go,
Yeah. Well, we got that. We're the smallest school in the league, and we're D4, and we play we play Uniota's Zane Trace D2 teams, and we know we got it. We're the underdog in most games.
Yeah. This is big. Horizon Fiber Internet is ready.
Let them get you hooked up and power your Wi-Fi network
with the speed and reliability that only a 100% fiber network can do.
Horizon is ready to help you do what you do better. With real people, real rates, and a real service.
Connect with them today, and the first month is free, plus no contracts and no data caps. Call 740-772-8331
or visit horizonconnects.com/Chillicothe to sign up today.
Obviously, with the name Shoemaker, too, there's a long history of Shoemakers in the county. And you mentioned Merle as your uncle. And we were talking before we started tonight about Ronnie Shoemaker, who just passed away here recently. But, growing up in that environment and growing up with all those folks around you, Mike and everybody else, had to be really interesting. And, I kind of have a little bit of it just because of my connection with my wife and so on. But growing up in the middle of that family had to be quite an experience as well.
I was the only son. I have two sisters, and we lived probably 200 yards from Merle's house, and he had all those kids. And Mick, who played at UC, and so I was up there all the time. I have fond memories of Greg Cook, Greg Cook is not officially my cousin, but he always called him my cousin because he was on Dorothy's side. But competitiveness was, you had to be competitive or you'd be eaten alive. You might as well go home. Aunt Dorothy put an end to our Thanksgiving basketball games at Twin School when Twin was built, because I remember the last one we had, somebody broke their glasses in half. Somebody had a broken shoulder blade. Somebody had a busted nose. Everybody hated to lose. But, they were always taking us to sporting events. Mm-hmm. Merle and Dad and Uncle Paul, Litter, they were always taking us somewhere. My dad, I was lucky in that my dad was the head of purchasing at the Mead. And I don't know if you're allowed to do this anymore, but back then, all these people, he had to sign off on everything the Mead purchased.
Yeah.
So they were always giving him gifts, to try to get in his favor. So he could ask for any tickets and he'd get them. I mean, we went to all-star games. We went to all over the place. I saw Hank Aaron's 3,000th hit.
Yeah.
I was there when Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record, or tied it.
Tied it.
Dad and Uncle Merle always took us we'd go to several Reds games a year. Cincinnati Royals. I remember watching Pete Maravich and, Wilt Chamberlain shook my hand when I was 10 years old, and I was amazed because Wilt was my favorite player. But I have parents ask me, they have little kids, they'll say, how can I go out and shoot with him in a driveway, but I can't get him interested. I always say, take him to games.
Yeah.
Even high school games. They watch the games. They want to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see everybody cheering. I want to do that.
Yep.
Watching games on TV or just shooting with your son or throwing baseball out in the yard is not enough. You need to take him to games.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And that probably with you, with soccer, right?
Yeah, with soccer.
Girls.
My kids both feet in. They were all in for soccer. I coached soccer at the high school level for about 7 years, and it was. I totally agree with that because both of my kids love baseball. Now, they didn't play softball, so I have two daughters. Didn't play softball, but they live and breathe baseball because they went to 5 to 10 Reds games. Chillicothe Paints games, Columbus Clippers games. They got to see baseball stadiums and they fell in love with the sport.
Yeah.
And so we've always tried to take them, and you're right. That's how you get kids interested.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Who would you say, you mentioned Wilt was your favorite player growing up. Were there players that you idolized and you wanted, when you played, obviously, did you want to play like them?
I loved Wilt. One of the few times in my life I've been overwhelmed by meeting somebody. I was out at West Virginia, and Hugs has a hospitality room for his family and friends you can go to before the game at halftime. And I was in there at halftime, and Jerry West walked in. I didn't know what to say.
Right.
I'd read his book.
It's the logo, right?
I'd read his book, his little paperback book, when I was someone wrote it about him before he'd even retired. Yeah. And I remember reading about it when I was 10 years old. And I just loved the guy. And I hate this HBO series. I don't know if you guys
have you watched it?
I'm watching it, but man, they treat Jerry, it's such a, and I know it's a dramatization and it's not supposed to be factual, but man, they make him look bad.
Really?
Yeah.
And I've heard that, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah,
so
it's hard for me to watch, but I'm sticking with it for now.
Yeah.
But, Jerry West, I loved Pete Rose when I was a kid.
Yeah.
The hustle. I followed the Bengals because of Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Greg would come out to Aunt Dorothy's house when he was playing with the Bengals, and in the off season, and we'd go up to Paint Valley and we'd run routes, and he'd throw us passes. And I'll never forget. He started at the 50-yard line, and we're in the end zone. Or no, he started at the 10-yard line, and we're in the end zone, and he's on one knee, and he's throwing us passes as we're running crossing routes. Moves back to the 20. He's zipping it to us. 30, 40. Last drill he did, he was at the 50-yard line on one knee throwing us passes. One knee.
Amazing.
And if you listen to, there's a couple interviews with Bill Walsh that talks about he's the best he's ever seen. He's ever coached.
And he basically says, literally, we would all be talking about him if he hadn't gotten hurt.
Yeah. Yep. He always told us privately that Willie Lanier of the Chiefs stepped on him.
Oh yeah.
When he was down.
Huh.
But they say that had it happened now, it was easily fixed. But back then it just he was broken.
Well, and we didn't have the medical
we don't have the technology
that we have now.
He also, it was a different time, but he was playing with the Bengals, and they came to Paint Valley to play like a alumni team. They used to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he broke the rim, Duncan. 1969 or whatever. I remember watching. I was just amazed.
I feel like my first year in Chillicothe, the Bengals came and played an all-star game like that at Hatton Gym, and I got to play for a little bit, but literally it was, athletes. And I remember like Mark Bayless played, which he played at Ohio State at one point in time, but that would have been 20 years before that, But like, it was amazing just to see these guys that are football players. They're not basketball players. There might be one or two of them that have ever played basketball or enjoyed it. But these guys like getting up and down the floor and, how much you weigh? Oh, I'm like 260. And you're like, dude, looks like he's 180. It's amazing to even think about.
I remember when I was at Ohio State, I was playing an intramural game, and we played a team with Pete Johnson on it. Remember Pete?
Yeah.
And I remember Pete jumping up and dunking 2 basketballs. And at the time, he was like, he's probably 225, but at the time he seemed huge,
Yeah.
But it's amazing how good those guys are.
Yeah. That's how the league they have changed.
Yeah.
Because you don't see things like that anymore. That like they were doing that as a promotional and helping people raise funds for events and things like that. And now with free agency and all the other things.
Imagine Joe Burrow breaking his ankle, playing against Chillicothe.
Yeah,
you just can't do it anymore.
T. Higgins or Jamar Chase out there, and they break a finger or break a hand or something, and everybody would be screaming. Especially it would be on the internet before anybody even in Cincinnati knew.
But
so
it's that stuff doesn't happen because of all the money now.
Oh yeah,
it's changed.
Yeah, they've
in the last 15 years.
Commodities like it's like in baseball when. A line drive will nick a guy on the shoulder. He's clearly not hurt, but they take him out. They just don't want to take chances.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw where a guy pitched a complete game last night.
And everybody was like, he pitched a complete game.
I mean, when I was a kid, guys would have 28, 30 complete games.
Right. Yeah.
I was looking at Sandy Koufax's stats the other day, and I don't remember what year it was because, that's so long ago. But I think he was like 24-6 or something. And he started like 39 games and pitched like 32 complete games. And I was like, you couldn't get half of that number out of anybody anymore. It's just amazing you're right. It's all about injuries.
Nolan Ryan threw as hard as anybody, and he pitched to his 46 or something.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah, there's a movie or the documentary coming out about Nolan Ryan. Have you seen that? Yeah. It comes out in a couple of weeks.
Oh, cool.
And it looks fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and I'm watching the Magic Johnson documentary, just debuted on Apple TV last week, and that one looks promising as well. So
I'm always a little cautious about watching these documentaries that are made by the guy that they're covering. Like Tom Brady. I mean, are you really going to see the other side?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. When I watched the Man in the Arena with Tom Brady, that whole thing about the deflated balls and all of that stuff got kind of whitewashed. And I was like, you can tell who's really paying for this thing. Yeah.
Even the Jordan thing. I mean, he was behind most of it. I loved it, but
it was fun to watch.
I really
for sure.
did enjoy that documentary. That was good.
Well, it came along at the exact right time. We were all stuck in our houses.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
It was perfect timing.
So I do want to touch on the live music thing because, again, as I said, when I grow up someday, I want to be you because you seem to find I should start texting you more often so I can get in on these gigs that you go to and these shows that you go to. Because I don't know how many times you've seen Foo Fighters, but I feel like it's been a bunch.
Yeah, it's been, well, I got, again, relationships. One of my best friends, Tim Goss at Goose, I've known him since I taught at Greenfield, actually a little before that. His daughter, who graduated from Greenfield McLean, is on the Foo Fighters management team.
No kidding.
Yeah. Like
wow.
There's 8 of them, maybe not even that's on the team. And they only manage, I think Iggy Pop's one of them. They only manage just a few people. Mm-hmm. But the head of the group was Nirvana's guy. Joe something. I can't think of his last name. But anyway, because of that, we get, all access and backstage and all that stuff. It's really fun. But unfortunately, I don't know if they're.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if they're ever going to play again. It's sad.
It is sad.
Well, especially for somebody like Dave Grohl, who's now going through this twice. It's like, how much mentally and emotional bandwidth do you have to keep doing it?
I wrote about this on my website, but I was out at the Cal Jam in 2018, and it was all outside. They had this backstage area with lights in the trees and everything, and there's food in those silver tray things. And I'm going through there, and I open one of them, and I just absentmindedly said, "What's this?" And some guy yells, "That's couscous mac and cheese, man. You got to try some." Next thing I know, Taylor Hawkins is beside me scooping couscous mac and cheese on my plate and said, "You got to try it." And he slapped me on the back. So that's my Taylor Hawkins. Taylor Hawkins story. But yeah, he's just such a good dude.
Yeah.
How many shows do you think before COVID you were going to in a year?
Good Lord.
Because I know you and I, Marty, we go to quite a few, but like it
really hurt the number of concerts we COVID did.
Probably 20. I mean, but back in the day, I would go to 50, 67. I mean, I used to go travel
3-4 a week, right? And go all over the place.
Travel. There's nothing like live music.
Yeah,
nothing.
I agree.
I saw the Eagles Hotel California tour, Elton John Yellow Brick Road tour. Another story that probably 20,000 people say, but mine happens to be true because it was on December 3rd, my birthday. We had tickets for the Who. The night that 11 people were killed, and we ended up turning around and going to a party in Chillicothe. I found out someone was having a surprise party for me, so I thought, well, I got to go to that, So we turned around, and I remember we came back to my buddy Andy Anderson, God bless his soul. We went back to his house in Frankfurt, and his wife was sitting on the floor. It was like 3 a.m. crying because she thought we were there before cell phones.
Yeah,
and she said, "Oh, thank God you guys are okay." I said, "What happened?" And she said 11 people had died, but. I'd been to Led Zeppelin like a couple months before that, and I knew exactly what had happened. I mean, people weren't trampled, they were crushed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, for whatever reason, it was general admission, and on the west side of Riverfront Coliseum, there's a walkway, like a bridge, over to Riverfront Coliseum, or Riverfront Stadium at the time.
Yeah.
And everybody's funneled into these like 4, it might have been 6 doors.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And people are pushing and pushing. And I remember seeing a woman pass out and not fall down because you had to struggle to get your hand up just to cool off. Mm-hmm. And I remember some dummy working inside cracked open the door, said, "You're going to have to wait another 40 minutes." And the door just slammed open, glass went flying, and everybody went pouring in. Yeah. Otherwise, it might have happened that day. Mm-hmm. But I knew what happened because I distinctly remember getting pushed and falling, and like you were at a 45-degree angle to the ground.
But you're not touching the ground.
Nothing you could do about it. Right. And somehow you get pushed back up.
Yeah,
and that's what happened.
Crazy.
Small, people got crushed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen REM probably 20 times. And
oh man, I'm jealous of that one.
Yeah, me too. Goose and I were into REM back in the early 80s, so we saw them at like Springfield High School Gymnasium. And you name them, I've seen them.
I know somebody that went to Miami in the 70s, and they said that they saw Springsteen play at like the Commons at Miami University, Miami, Ohio.
That's a show if you've never seen Springsteen, that's something you got to do.
I'm 11 now. My next one will be 12. So
I'm going to see Paul McCartney on May 21st.
Are you?
Yeah, I've seen him 7 or 8 times, but he's 80 years old or close to it. I figured, man, I got to go. So Clay Archer, one of my former players, and I, and Jason Vesey, one of my former students, who's a principal out at Pickaway Ross, we're going to go down and Winston-Salem and spend a weekend, and then I got to be back for PV graduation the next day at 2:00. So that'll be fun.
That sounds like a great shoe story right there. So you've been retired now for a while.
2013, be 9 years. This
9 years.
June, yeah.
And you're just cruising through life at this point, and
I'm
going to keep coaching.
Yeah, I think I'll help Jason again this year.
Yeah,
probably. But I enjoy it. I enjoy being around the kids.
Yeah,
I can't sub anymore because I'm on the school board, so they won't let you sub. So I used to sub all the time up there.
Yeah,
and I loved it, but I felt like it was more important to be on the school board.
And how do you feel like the Paintville District is doing now? Like, I
think it's great.
Yeah,
I think we're on the right track.
Good.
We got a great school board now. They're excellent. Nobody has an agenda. We let the educators run the district unless there's something major we have to deal with.
Yeah,
we stay in our lane and do what a school board's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Which doesn't always happen, as you guys know.
Yep. And I think we could say this about most school districts in Ross County, but when the local school district is widely supported by most parents in the district. I feel like Paint Valley, though, there's just a different level of support and pride in that district.
It's Jason Smith and Corey Dye, our new football coach. He's been there 3 years now. Came from Courthouse, and they're just amazed at the family atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, the support, everybody loves each other. We stick together, and our kids know that. And it's been good for me for the most part. I mean, I've had detractors over the years, but, the second time I coached, I had a lot of kids that were the sons of former players.
Yeah.
So they knew what I was doing.
Sure.
So if the kid went home was, man, he was, I just listened to him, you're fine, and they understood the whole process. So, but it's been, it's a special place. I love the community. I love the people, and they appreciate hard workers on the athletic fields.
Yeah.
If you're out there working your butt off and you're diving for loose balls, man, they love it.
Yeah. So one question that I did want to ask you is, with all these college connections that you had, you never took that next step and went up to a college job or anything like that, even at a smaller, was it just you wanted to be at the local level and working on that?
Yeah,
on that level?
I've had offers at small places in the past that I didn't feel like was a good fit. I don't want to say too much, but I had an offer at a big time D1 college at one of the places where I have close connections. They, back in the early 2000s, they offered me a job as a academic, like coach and coordinator. And they thought it would be a good fit for me because I had my administrator's license as a principal, and I'd taught for all those years. And I'd be like the liaison between the professors and the players and stuff. But I was going to have to take quite a bit of a pay cut at the time. I'd been teaching 27 years at the time. So, and I just, I couldn't move at the time my son was getting ready to enter Ohio State. So,
well, and you have your son is married now. He's got a little daughter of his own.
Oh my God.
And I imagine that takes up a good amount of time for grandpa.
I go see her every single minute that I can. She's, and I have another one coming.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'll be 2 years apart. But Holland was born 2 years ago. It'll be May 29th. But people told me that being a grandparent is totally different. And I used to laugh at my friends that were always talking about their grandkids. Come on,
Right.
I don't laugh anymore. I'm exactly the way they were.
Yeah.
I go visit Holland, and when I raised Kip, you're worried about teaching him right from wrong and how he's going to turn out. With Holland, that's his job to do
That's
that.
right.
So I just give her whatever she wants.
That's right.
And Kip doesn't like it very well because I take her musical instruments. I took her a little tiny drum set. I've taken her took her a slide whistle the other day, and he sent me a video of her walking around the house blowing the slide whistle. And he said, "You're going to be banned if you keep bringing."
That's right. We'll have you stay out of the porch.
I told him, I said, I'm going to get her a regular drum kit here when she gets a little older. And he said, and it will stay at your house.
Yeah.
It's not going to be here. But nothing like a grandkid.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I bet. Well, I can't say it. This was a great hour, and I really enjoyed it. This is what I really hope for. I appreciate everything you've done with our community. I think you represent the Paint Valley folks very well. And
I'm sometimes I go overboard. I was in line at the gas station there in Bourneville, and there was a kid there in the mid-20s, and he screwed up the change or something. He said, I went to Paint Valley. I don't know how to count. And I called him on. I said, what are you talking about? I said, you got a great education at Paint. Coach, I was just kidding. I said, I know, but don't say that, man.
Yeah,
we got to stand up for each other here, And that goes for Chillicothe and Ross County and all of Southern Ohio. This is an absolutely, you guys know this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing place to live. We have our negatives and things that need to be fixed and can be better. But for the most part, it's a beautiful place with great people.
Yep. No, I mean, we've told this story a billion times, but I didn't intend to stay here when I got here. Journalists are transient people. So I thought I would be gone in 5 years max. And the next thing you know, you're pushing 25 years, so
Feels like home, right?
It sure does. And
That's exactly right.
We appreciate the fact that you've invested that much time in all these young people and continue to do so. So
yeah, those relationships are so important. And when I look back at the coaches that I have, you can always tell when they made a big impact on my life because I still call them coach.
100%.
When I see them, I'm 51 years old, and I still run into my high school baseball coach, and I call him coach, and he always laughs and he says, "You don't have to call me coach anymore." I said, "No, you will always be coach to me." And when I coached soccer all those years, I have guys that I coached that still call me coach, and they have no idea what that means to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I know how important my coaches were in my life. So
100%.
Thank you for all that you've invested in.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Students.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already